People who can speak multiple languages. What stories do you have where someone has spoken about you without realizing you could understand them?
Vietnamese nail tech called me fat and plain. I'm not Asian, and my husband is Vietnamese, and he taught me the basics of the language. Was at a nail salon where the ladies were talking mainly in Vietnamese. I will say that 99% of the time, they are not talking about their customers. They are usually talking about family drama and work gossip. But this time, they were talking about me. The nail tech called me fat and that I will break her pedicure chair. Then she went on to say that I dressed boring and other stuff I didn't understand. At the end, I paid for the service and loudly said, "Thank you, but next time don't be mean" in Vietnamese. The poor lady turned white and felt so embarrassed that she offered to give the service for free. But I assured her that I won't see her again. My best friend and I took her son to the zoo. The deaf couple in front of us were talking in sign language about the disgusting lesbian family. It took a bit for us to realize we're that family. I was born in the US, but I speak Russian because of my immigrant parents. I work in a grocery store as a cashier and occasionally get Russian speakers, and I pretend I just don't understand them. This mom and her daughter came through my line, and the total was $234.27. And she gave me $150 and the rest was tens and some fives. I started counting the cash and sort of lost track of where I was and started over. She says to her daughter, "Can you believe it? The cashier doesn't trust us." She's being rude right to our face. "Lady, if you accidentally gave me an extra $10 or something, the register total will be off," and I would get in trouble. Right when she said that, I looked up and stared at her for about 5 seconds, then went back to counting. I think she understood.
Multiple times, live in Italy. They think I'm a tourist, so I hear a lot of shit. Last week, it was a guy talking to his friends about sending me an invitation to put my hands on his nuts, likely provoked by me holding tennis balls at the time. Used to manage a record store. Now I have a relatively long mohawk and dress very goth. One day, a French family of tourists walk in. And as the dad browsed the records, the mom not so discreetly tells her kid that he needs to work hard in school or he'll end up at me, to which I go from perfect English to perfect French and go, "Je vous demande pardon?" Excuse me? Absolute embarrassment ensues. Try to apologize, I'm having none of it, and lecture her that I'm not only the manager, but also a goddamned club photographer and make enough that I can dress like I want without fear. They leave. Feels good. Not me personally, but knew a Marine who overheard a Japanese family going on and on about the stupid Americans in the airport. He took the opportunity to go over and let them know that he was an interpreter and understood all of it. They slunk off in horror because they didn't think anybody knew what they were saying. Went to my first appointment at a new doctor's office in a predominantly Spanish-speaking neighborhood on my way home from work. I was climbing around a dusty attic, running wire all day, and hadn't got to change my clothes. An older lady and her daughter were in the waiting room with me while I filled out paperwork and were conversing in Spanish. The mother mentioned how she hates it when dirty homeless people come into businesses looking for handouts, saying I was probably a meth head. I got up when the nurse called my name and turned back to her and said in perfect Spanish, "Excuse me, but you shouldn't make assumptions. Bitch." The mother stood up and gasped, and the daughter just laughed.
When my mother married my stepdad, I was the bartender at their wedding. Prior to this, she deliberately hid the fact that I was bilingual because she was monolingual, and she worried her new stepfamily would speak poorly of her and wanted me to be able to tell her if they did. At the wedding, 2 of my stepbrothers came up to grab drinks and started speaking in Spanish, not knowing I was raised speaking it. Grandparents on biological father's side. They were talking about me in a sexual manner, and once their drinks were made, I interrupted them in Spanish. They were astonished. I was disgusted.